Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is the fifth and final film in the Legendary series, and it gives us a nice send-off for an iconic character. It does more than that, though. Throughout the movie, there are several nods to prior films and even the expanded universe. Some are easy to catch, but some need a really keen eye to spot. Let's take a look at the 15 best Easter eggs in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Quick reminder, remember to like the video if you enjoy it, and if you want more content about Indiana Jones, Star Wars, entertainment, and video games, subscribe to our channel and head to our website, strangelyAwesomeGames.com. Let's start with the most obvious one. The first 4 films in the franchise open with the Paramount logo morphing into a physical mountain or hill. This time, though, Disney changed it up a bit, using the Lucasfilm logo instead. The film opens with the Lucasfilm logo turning into the lock on the truck that Indiana Jones is being held captive in. Every movie in the franchise, except for Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, has used the open capitals Roman font for the title, and James Mangold made the decision to use it again in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It was just one way that Mangold paid homage to George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. Every time Indiana Jones has taken on the Nazis on the big screen, he's stolen a Nazi uniform to use as a disguise. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indy takes a uniform in the submarine hangar. In Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, he takes one in Berlin before coming face-to-face with Adolf Hitler himself. But in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the tradition continues. When we first see Indiana Jones, he's wearing the uniform of a Nazi soldier that he's presumably killed to get it. It's a clear nod to both Raiders and the Last Crusade. We're not done with that Nazi uniform quite yet, though. The uniform Indy gets has a bullet hole through it when we first see it. It's how Indy gets discovered on the train. But it's also foreshadowing something later in the film. When Indy gets shot in Archimedes' tomb, it's in almost the exact location of the bullet hole at the beginning of the film. Indiana Jones films have a tradition of the archaeologist pursuing religious artifacts thought to have great power. While the Antikythera doesn't quite fit that category, Mangold includes another artifact early in the film that does, and it's a nod to a story from the expanded universe. In the opening sequence, Indy is originally looking for the Lance of Longinus, known as the Spear of Destiny. It's the spear used during the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, and it's thought by some to have tremendous power. While the spear in the film is a fake, the inclusion of it is paying homage to the Indiana Jones comics, where the spear was featured. Indiana Jones and the Spear of Destiny was a Dark Horse Comics limited series in 1995 that teamed Indy with his father Henry once again in pursuit of the spear against, guess who, the Nazis. Speaking of Indy's dad, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny pays homage to the great Sean Connery's portrayal of Henry Jones Sr. by including his watch in the movie. When Teddy steals Indy's watch in Tangier, Indy says it was his father's watch. As it turns out, it really is the same watch that Connery wore in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Nods to Indy's greatest adventures are all over his apartment in New York. Most notable is the painting of the Grail on the wall when we first meet Indiana Jones in 1969. It's the same artwork that was in his father's office in the Last Crusade, and also the same that was in the Grail diary. The prominent position of it in Indy's apartment demonstrates the importance of his relationship with his father and the significance of that quest to Indy even decades later. Now that we're talking about the Grail diary, let's talk about how Helena Shaw's pursuit of the Antikythera mirrors Indy's pursuit of the Holy Grail in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Helena's father, Basil, was obsessed with seeking the Antikythera just like Indy's father was with the Grail. She has even studied and memorized all of his diaries about the dial, just as the Grail diary was a central element in the Last Crusade. It leads to one of the most powerful moments in the film, when Indy asks Helena why she's chasing the thing that drove her father mad, and Helena replies, "Wouldn't you?" In fact, he did. This line is what sways Indy to help her at first. Just minutes earlier in the film, we were given a subtle reminder of the importance of that very adventure in the Last Crusade with his father chasing the Grail, and invoking those feelings in Indy makes him want to help her. That's not the only relationship parallel that exists in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, though. Teddy is essentially Helena's version of Short Round from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom inside Dial of Destiny. It's a nice way to pay homage to the character, although I do wish the character just had a cameo in the film like Sallah did. But this is the next best thing, and Teddy's a nice addition. To complete the parallel, Indy asks how Helena met Teddy, and she says she caught him trying to pick her pocket, just like Indy told Willie Scott about Short Round when she asked him the same thing in Temple of Doom. In Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Mads Mikkelsen plays Jürgen Voller. a German scientist who was a professor at the University of Alabama in 1969 and helped the United States put a man on the moon. This story is a reference to real events in Cold War history, and Voller is even based on a real person. Voller is based on scientist Wernher von Braun, a Nazi scientist who was brought to the United States as part of Operation Paperclip. He went on to work for NASA and helped the United States win the space race. What is Operation Paperclip, you ask? It was a secret intelligence operation in which the United States brought over 1,000 German scientists and engineers to North America between 1945 and 1959 to work for the United States government. Many of the people brought over had been members of the Nazi Party. Some of those scientists were instrumental in the United States putting a man on the moon in 1969. Temple of Doom gets a little more love here too, as Indy references the ordeals he went through at the Thuggee cult while trying to climb a rock face on the way to Archimedes' tomb. Indy needs a break while climbing, and Helena gives him a little bit of a hard time for it. Indy, in true boomer fashion, says she'd need it too if she'd been shot all the times he had, and tortured with voodoo and made to drink the blood of the Kalima. Sallah has a small role in Dial of Destiny, but he can be seen doing something fans will recognize. At the end of the film, when he and Helena are walking down the stairs, leaving Indy and Marion to talk, Sallah can be heard singing Gilbert and Sullivan's A British Tar, just as he did when saying goodbye to Indy and Marion in Raiders of the Lost Ark. In another scene, Sallah can be heard telling his children a story about Indy fighting that involves a Nazi plane. No doubt he's referring to this iconic fight from Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's one of the best scenes in the entire franchise, and if you've watched our 15 Things You Might Not Know About Raiders of the Lost Ark video, you know it was basically done by accident. But the classic Indy versus the swordsman scene in Raiders gets a nice callback and a twist in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. In Raiders, the assassin brought a sword to a gunfight. This time, it's Indy bringing a whip to a gunfight. Indy makes a big show of whipping the whip around the room to pay homage to the scene in Raiders, where the assassin showed off his skills with the blade at first. In the end, this time it's Indy who has the guns pointed at him, though. That's not the only scene from Raiders to get a twist in Dial of Destiny, though. The classic Where Doesn't It Hurt kiss scene from the original gets flipped in Dial of Destiny with Indy kissing Marion where it doesn't hurt. It's a great way to end the film, as the characters are acknowledging the emotional pain they've been through while also remembering who they were at their best. When Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out in 2008, fans were worried that it would be a passing of the torch to Shia LaBeouf's Mutt Williams. Spielberg gave us the fake out too, as Indy's hat blows to Mutt's feet at the end of the movie, and he goes to put it on his head. At the last second, though, Indy grabs the hat while walking by and puts it on his own head where it belongs. Dial of Destiny plays on that theme at the very end of the film. This time, Indy's head is hanging outside, giving us the indication that the character is hanging up his hat and calling it a career. Then, at the very end, Indy's hand reaches out and snatches the hat as the screen goes to black, telling us that even though Indy's on-screen adventures are over, the character's life continues. One more Crystal Skull bonus for you. George Mac McHale gets some love in Dial of Destiny too. Even though the character dies in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Helena refers to Indy as Jonesy in Dial of Destiny. It's a clear nod to the character who called Indy by the same name in Crystal Skull. Which of these do you think is the best or most impressive Easter egg? Did we miss anything? Let us know your favorite Easter eggs in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny in the comments below. While you're at it, remember to like the video, hit the notifications button, and subscribe to the channel for more videos on Indiana Jones, Star Wars, video games, and more. Also, head to our website, strangelyAwesomeGames.com, and if you enjoy this type of content, consider supporting us on our brand new Patreon at patreon.com/strangelyawesome. Have a great day, everybody.